This is a single-engine aircraft. It is definitely not a jet. John Kennedy Jr. had owned one other aircraft, as Maggie said. He got his permit to fly after training some in Florida, and I think it was 2 years ago, because I remember when just after he got that. Now we come back. This is a small single-engine aircraft. We don't know how many people it was carrying, but it's believed to have been carrying, in addition to John F. Kennedy Jr., his flight instructor, his wife's sister. That would be 4. This aircraft, I don't know this aircraft well, but I believe that it's designed to carry 6 people. I'm not here to say it couldn't carry more than that, and it's authorized to carry more, but it looks like about a 6-passenger aircraft. That would be a pilot and somebody with him in front, 2 seated behind, and then maybe 2 more behind that. But more about that as the day goes along. But let's clearly understand that this is a vulnerable and somewhat fragile aircraft in that it's a single-engine plane, and that it was flying in hazy conditions. This is not to say that the aircraft has even crashed. We don't know that. What we do know, it's been missing now for quite a long time, because it was due to arrive in Martha's Vineyard, according to the best available information, sometime before midnight last night. So it has been missing on the order of about 12 hours plus. And you see the area from West Caldwell, New Jersey, from where the plane took off, headed for Martha's Vineyard. They would be over water. Some of the time would be a kind of normal flight course. What was the flight plan? So far as known, they didn't file a flight plan. They are not required to fly a flight plan for this kind of flight. That is in ostensibly clear weather, noting that it was hazy, but it's clear weather. And they are supposed to keep airports sort of informed about where they are, but no flight plan as such was required, and so far as we can make out, none was filed. This is a line-of-sight kind of flight. That's why I keep coming back to these hazy conditions. While the conditions overall were pretty good, that haze could have been big trouble, particularly if a relatively inexperienced pilot was at the controls. But keep in mind, we don't know who was flying the aircraft. Was it John F. Kennedy Jr.? We don't know. There's no way to know. Was it the flight instructor? Simply no way to know. We go to Mark Knoller at the White House. Mark?
Dan, at the very highest levels of the U.S. government, there's considerable concern about the fate of John F. Kennedy and those on his aircraft. A few moments ago, the White House issued a formal statement. It says that the president was informed early this morning of the reported disappearance of the airplane carrying John F. Kennedy Jr. and others, including his wife, Carolyn. The president is being kept fully informed of the ongoing search efforts, which are being coordinated, the White House says, by the Department of Transportation, the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the Department of Defense. The White House says that all our prayers and thoughts are with the families of those on board. Now, White House spokesman Joe Lockhart tells us that the president this morning was informed by his chief of staff in the range of about 7 a.m. Eastern time. The president is at Camp David along with the First Lady, where they are spending the weekend. The president, we are informed, placed phone calls to Senator Edward Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's uncle. He placed a phone call to Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg, the sister of John F. Kennedy Jr., and to Housing and Urban Development Secretary Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo is now a member of the extended Kennedy family. He is married to a daughter of the late Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So there's considerable concern here. The president has asked that he be kept up to date on developments in the search and rescue operation. Dan?
Mark Knoller at the White House. John F. Kennedy Jr. was 38 years old. He is the only son of the 35th President of the United States. He was born just 2 months before his father's inauguration. Now, his father's assassination, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, thrust John F. Kennedy Jr. into the public eye. And in the famously poignant photograph of the little boy saluting, as JFK's flag draped, Quezon passed by. John F. Kennedy grew up protected as well as he could be by his mother, the late Jackie Kennedy. He eventually graduated from Brown University, had a reputation at Brown of being somebody who, yes, he did his studies, but he also liked to have a good time. And John F. Kennedy, in a number of times, has laughed about it himself and said, in effect, he said to me and he said to some others, you know, when you're at college or university, you're supposed to find out about yourself, and you can't find out about yourself if you don't have a good time. But he studied well enough to go on to law school, graduated from law school, passed the bar. Yes, he had a little difficulty passing the bar, but a lot of people have difficulty passing the bar, particularly in New York. The first-term pass percentages are sometimes as low as 35, 37%. But because he was a Kennedy, of course, he caught a lot of heck about that. Had to take the bar, I think, my recollection is twice. But he passed the bar. No small accomplishment to get past the New York bar. At the time, particularly those who didn't particularly like the Kennedy family for political or other reasons jumped all over him. But let's have it clearly understood, to get through law school is one really strong accomplishment. Then to get past the bar is another accomplishment, particularly when you have to do it in the immense pressure that the only son of an assassinated president had to operate. He went on to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office under Bob Morgenthau, one of, if not the most distinguished district attorneys in the country. Under D.A. Morgenthau's tutelage, he spent, my recollection is, a couple of years there. Then in 1995, he left the law to launch this magazine, George, a social and political magazine for which John F. Kennedy was very proud and really poured himself into. He wasn't just a, quote, front man for this magazine. Among other things, with the magazine, you say, well, what did he do? Well, first of all, he helped to run it. Secondly, he was an active editor. I can bear witness to that because I've been up there a number of times. He really worked at it. And he also did big interviews. He went down and interviewed Fidel Castro, one set piece of the magazine. Almost every edition, if not every edition, was a John F. Kennedy interview. Then, I think it was, Dawn, help me here, a year after he became publisher of the magazine, that he married his longtime girlfriend, Carolyn Bessette. It was a very private ceremony. As you mentioned, Anthony, on an island off of Georgia, I remember, as you do, the next morning getting those rockets from the boss saying, what did we know about this? And you say, well, how are we supposed to know about it?
We just saw the famous photograph of them leaving the church, the only official photograph from that secret wedding.
You know, just an observation, Dan, as you're talking about this young man and his life, and of course you were there and covered what horrified our nation, the assassination of his father. It's almost as if you're talking about a son. And really, this is America's family. I mean, I feel that sense of pride when you talk about him, which explains why we're all so afraid that, God forbid, something happened.
Absolutely, and that's why, you know, what's going through the Museum of Our Minds at the moment are all those images, John saluting at the funeral, John F. Kennedy on the floor, dead, the hotel in Los Angeles, just as he was making a strong run to become president. The shot, this is videotape in the George offices taken some time ago. I went over to talk to John F. Kennedy. By the way, a very good public speaker. This is a picture of him at some news conference there for George magazine.